Hello everyone, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I am going to show you a review on a recipe that I saw online. It was a 2-ingredient dessert using 2 ingredients you most likely have at home. Thank you so much for tuning in to this video. I truly hope you enjoy this video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. So these here are said to be the 2 ingredients. I'm going to be using 1 can of garbanzo beans and half a cup of chocolate chips. I'm going to be using dark chocolate chips today. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up the can and I'm going to add them to like a pre-sprayed pan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this can of garbanzo beans and I'm going to add them to a pre-sprayed pan, pop it into my mini oven at 350 degrees for about 50 minutes. Now this here is the end result. I had it inside of my mini oven at 350 degrees for about 60 minutes. I left it in there for about an hour and I gave them a quick toss like that, maybe about 40 minutes in or so. This here is the end result. Oh, there we go. I actually want them this way. That's the way it was said to have them. You want them nice and crunchy. Nice and crunchy. Just like that. I let them sit. They're nice and cool. Now, when I saw the recipe, I did see that they incorporated these inside of a bowl and added the chocolate chips while these were nice and hot still, and then the chocolate melted with it. But I let this cool down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm still going to add them to the bowl, but I'm going to add the chocolate chips into a bowl and add a little bit of coconut oil, or if you don't have that, you can use some shortening, just a little bit to thin it out so I can melt it in the microwave. But that is not a necessary step. The way it was originally shown was just take them out of the oven nice and hot, put them in a bowl, and melt the chocolate chips in it, but I did not do that today. This here is the coconut oil that I'm going to be incorporating into the bowl along with my chocolate chips before popping in the microwave for about 20 seconds at 10-second intervals. And again, the reason why I did not show this in the beginning is because this here is not a necessary step. You do not need to add any shortening or coconut oil to this step. But if you have cooled down garbanzos, they will not melt unless they will not melt with the chocolate chips unless they're hot or unless something is hot. So that's why I'm doing this. So about half a teaspoon. Now, putting it in the microwave for the amount of time I said worked perfectly for mine. I had it on high, but it always does depend on your type of microwave. Now, I end up adding just a little bit more coconut oil to get the consistency that I wanted. Now I'm going to be incorporating the 1 can of baked garbanzos. I want to do a nice even coat here. Now for the next step, I just lined the cookie sheet that I used earlier with some new foil paper. I'm just going to spray a little bit of nonstick cooking spray throughout it before adding these. Now I really hope this recipe is delicious because I love garbanzo beans and I love chocolate. So together I know that they work very well because of a vegan garbanzo bean based chocolate chip cookie dough, edible chocolate chip cookie dough that I made using garbanzo beans as my base. If you guys want to check out the video, I'll put the link below, but I know that it was the last video I made before this one, so you should not have any trouble finding it at all. Right below this video, if you go onto my my video section of my profile. And I found this recipe on Instagram as well. A lot of people who made this recipe said they did not like it, and when I asked them why, they said because they weren't fans of garbanzo beans. I really don't know why they would make this if they weren't a fan of garbanzo beans, because that is one of the 2 ingredients. So I do love garbanzo beans. I like to bake them, I like to toast them, I like to put them in soups, incorporate them in my vegan edible raw cookie dough after I made that recipe. So I am a very big fan of garbanzos. That's why I decided to make this. So this is how I saw that the lady placed it. I did give her credit on my Instagram post, so if you guys want to check out my Instagram post, because I don't want to give them credit verbally here on the video, because so many people change their usernames. I have been known to change my usernames before, so this way I gave her credit on my Instagram, where if you click on her, if she ended up changing her name, it will still go directly to her new profile if you wanted to check her out. So just a little bit more here. I'll put it right here. Kind of look like little Cocoa Puffs. There we go. I'm just going to let it sit and dry. If you guys are in a rush and want to make these, pop them in the freezer for about 10 minutes or the refrigerator for about 15 or 20. Now it's been 15 minutes and the chocolate has hardened and kept the garbanzo beans together, so they're easy to pick up, like so. So this here is the end result. They look really beautiful. I can't believe how simple they were to make. And the original recipe, the lady made much more than I did. She used 2 cans of garbanzos and 1 cup of chocolate. But because so many people were so skeptical about it, I wanted to just do the recipe by half to make sure I didn't waste food. Now, when it comes to garbanzo beans, I always have them in the house. I just made some hummus a few days ago. I'm planning on making some falafels tonight for dinner. So I always have them in the house. That's why I said most likely you'll have all the ingredients at home. Garbanzo beans are so versatile. They're so fun to work with in meals and in desserts. So it's definitely my favorite bean to work with. Garbanzo beans are also known as chickpeas. I wanted to make sure I made that clear. Not many people know that. I cannot wait to give this a try. I love how easy they were to make, and I love how cute they look. They look very appetizing, and I really hope I enjoy this, because if I do, this is a recipe I'm going to be making very often. So here are my pros. Number 1, it's a very easy treat to make. It's really foolproof. Number 2, it's a 2-ingredient recipe. It's also a 2-ingredient recipe that you most likely have at your house. And if you use vegan chocolate chips, it's a simple 2-ingredient vegan dessert. It's chocolate. I mean, come on. Who doesn't love chocolate, right? And it's also a sweet and crunchy treat. Now, when it comes to the cons, I personally do not have any cons for this recipe. But I do want to make sure I make it very clear. Please don't make this recipe if you are not a fan of garbanzo beans. I know that when I read the comments, people were saying that they didn't like the recipe, and when I asked them why, they said they were not fans of garbanzo beans. It's really pointless to make a recipe with garbanzo beans as a base if you are not a fan of garbanzo beans. It's completely pointless. So don't waste your garbanzo beans, or don't waste time buying garbanzo beans if it's just not something that you're into. But if you are open-minded, and if you do understand how versatile garbanzo beans are, also if you understand the subtle of them, they're very versatile. You can do so much with them. They're very easily manipulated. You can obviously you can make them sweet, you can make them salty, you can spice them up for falafels or other wraps inside of salads and stuff like that. So the only con I would say is for people, the only con I have would be the people making them who is not open-minded to the idea of garbanzo beans. Now, if you love garbanzo beans and you try this recipe and it's not for you, totally understandable. But if you're not a fan of garbanzo beans, you're not too crazy about chocolate, don't make this recipe, right? So I have that to say. And also, I did read, also in the comment section, I did read that some people were saying that their garbanzo beans were not a proper consistency because some of them came out crunchy and some of them came out kind of soft. And when I first read that in the comment section of the Instagram for this recipe, my first thought was most likely their oven is just not evenly heated. But my oven is evenly heated. I use it all the time, never have any problems. And I actually had the same thing happen to me where though the majority of them were nice and crunchy, there were a few pieces that were not as crunchy and a little bit chewy. I enjoyed that texture a lot. I'm assuming that maybe some of the beans have a little bit more moisture than the others. I'm not really sure what it is, but I liked it. It wasn't undercooked. It wasn't chewy. It was just, you know, more easy to bite into, and you can have a few munches on the teeth with that bean than you could with the other ones that were very crunchy. I enjoyed that texture because it gave it some versatility. So when you first take a bite of them, you get a crunchy garbanzo, and then the sweetness of the chocolate kind of hits your tongue almost immediately after. I think this is a great recipe to make. Definitely a recipe that I would make again, and it's definitely a recipe that I would create for like potlucks. I'll take it over to family members. I'll have it whenever there's company. Of course, make sure that you're aware of the company's tastes before making these. But if you have a vegan friend or a vegetarian friend or someone that's going on a diet but doesn't know how to have fun with their, you know, kind of use their sweet tooth, you don't have to put your sweet tooth completely on the side when you want to be healthy. Just be aware of the ingredients that you're using when making desserts. Like in this case, it's 2 ingredients. One is garbanzo beans and the other one is chocolate. Now when it comes to chocolate, try to use cacao powder as much as possible, not cocoa powder based chocolate chips. You can use carob chips, vegan chips, or the darkest dark chocolate chips that you have. So this does not have to be a guilty pleasure dessert. It's a completely guilt-free dessert if you make it, simply because if you use the right ingredients, you are in for a delicious, decadent, guilt-free treat. A quick update. This is Picky Toddler approved. I couldn't believe it. My daughter wanted to try it. She got some and took a bite, and she took about 3 bites before returning it to me. And 3 bites is a lot for her. I asked her if she liked it, and she said yes, that it was chocolate and crunchy. That's what she said all by herself. So she enjoyed the texture, and of course the silky chocolate that she got helped a lot. So that makes me really happy. So to all mommies out there, this is Picky Toddler approved for my toddler. If you make this and let your picky eater try it, please let me know what they think. Also, if you end up using this recipe but incorporating other ingredients into this recipe, or like I said, drizzle some of your favorite nut butter on top, a little bit of coarse sea salt. You can even, if you want to, add a little piece of caramel there. Add a little bit of caramel. You can play with this. It's very versatile. So let me know if you tried this recipe and other ingredients that you may have incorporated into it. Please be sure to like, comment, and please subscribe to my channel. Please take the time to see what I have to offer you. It's a little bit of everything. I really hope that you guys enjoy this video.